As has been the case across the Portland metro area and frankly the entire United States, the market in Clackamas and Happy Valley has been extremely strong over the last couple of years, driven by general market factors such as relatively high demand versus a relatively small amount of supply, even given that we have a fair amount of new construction going on in the area, low interest rates, and just a general demand for new housing. Specific to this area, though, of course, the drive for some people out of the more urban areas into a little bit slower pace, a little less congestion, although some would argue that's changing a bit too fast as well, and for people moving in from outside the region, outside the state, liking the quality of life here between schools, outdoor areas, again, less congestion, and a little bit more housing opportunity. But there's rumors that the market's really about to take a big slow up. Now, do we see that as of May? Well, let's take a peek at the numbers and see what you think. One thing that might come as a surprise is that the number of sales in May of this year versus last year dropped by 37%. Now that might sound scary, but bear in mind, we're dealing with a generally small area, so there's always going to be a little bit more variation given the smaller data set. Another reason not to panic is if we look at new pending sales, buyers and sellers who came to terms in the month of May, we only saw a 2.5% decrease. That's a smaller decrease than we saw across the Portland area as a whole. So while the closed sales were down by quite a bit, sales going pending was actually only down a little. And if we look back at 2021, when we had a higher number of sales than usual, a 2.5% drop gets us closer to a normal pacing of activity. Now, the number of houses hitting the market last month was actually up 26% year over year. But here's where, again, we have to remember new construction plays a big role in the marketplace here. Not all new houses ever hit the market. Builders might put one or two up and then use those to sell other lots and other houses not being built on spec, but being built specifically for that buyer. So the 26% increase in houses hitting the market year over year is driven largely by twice as many homes hitting the market that are new construction. That's probably happening because as builders see a little bit less activity, they're probably putting a higher percentage of their houses on the market where more buyers can see them. So within the resale market, the number of houses hitting the market was only up 12 or 13%, a much more modest amount and probably much more indicative of the market here in general. So a bit of an uptick in the number of people looking to sell, a bit of a drop in the number of sales going pending, and a notable drop in closed sales. But does this signify that Happy Valley and Clackamas are in for a lot of trouble? Probably not. In fact, I'd venture no. Another reason for optimism about where the market is at right now is pricing. The typical house that sold in May in this area went for $741,000. That's up 23% versus May of last year. That's actually a higher appreciation rate than in previous months, at a time when the region as a whole is seeing smaller appreciation rates. And what's more interesting is something we've seen over the last year or two is very different from what we used to see, and that is resale prices right now are higher than new construction. So $741,000 is your typical sale price for a single family home. But if that home is resale, meaning it's not brand new, your typical price has been $777,000, with new construction only selling at $645,000. Now, that's not because people value new construction less, it's because of a trend over the last few years toward more modestly sized homes being built new, in part but because of consumer demand for a more modestly sized house, in part for builders playing it a bit more safe, and in part because the lots have gotten smaller. So resale homes right now are selling for $777,000 versus brand new at $645,000. If you remember Happy Valley and Clackamas, say 15, 20 years ago, those numbers have flipped. But the take-home message is prices continue to appreciate. They continue to rise at a great level. Bear in mind, of course, the same house brand new versus 10 years ago, 10 years old, the new construction will sell for more. So if you're selling one resale that's a direct comparison or a direct competition to brand new, they'll get more for new. But in general, resale right now is driving the price up at a greater rate in many respects than new construction. So what's the take-home message from all of this? The market in Clackamas and Happy Valley remains very strong. New construction continues to help supply along, but that supply is not resulting in excess housing available. It's not enough to meet demand, And the differences in new construction versus resale is providing enough opportunity for both parties, new builders and current homeowners, to have plenty of market opportunity and not be in as much direct competition as they might be in other parts of town. This should remain the case going into the future, and this area should continue to see prices rise, though don't expect 23% year over year to continue. If you have any specific questions about what's going on in your neighborhood and your part of Clackamas Happy Valley, reach out, let us know, and we'll get you an update at a smaller, more neighborhood level. And if you have any concerns about where things are going over the next 6 months or on into the end of 2023, again, reach out and we can let you know what's forecasted to come. The news in general is going to be things will slow up a bit, but don't expect a cliff. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you soon.